The most dangerous sentence in modern America may be this: it's only a payment. That sentence put cars in driveways people could barely afford. It put furniture in living rooms before the old couch was paid off. It put vacations on cards, phones on plans, and clothes on bills that lasted longer than the clothes themselves. And somewhere along the way, debt stopped feeling like a warning. It started feeling normal. Our grandparents had a different alarm inside them. Not because they were perfect with money, they were not. But many of them had seen what happens when a family owes too much and owns too little. To them, a dollar was not just a number. It was hours. It was food. It was coal before winter. It was shoes for a child. It was the difference between sleeping at night and staring at the ceiling. So today we are looking at 7 money rules older Americans lived by before debt became a lifestyle. And the first one sounds simple until you realize how much of modern life was built to destroy it. This rule would almost sound rude today. If you could not pay for it, you waited. No button, no installment plan, no little message saying, "Take it home now." You either had the money or you did not. And if you did not, the answer was no. That answer shaped people. A woman could look at a dress in a store window and keep walking. A man could need a new tool and still make the old one last another season. A child could hear "not now" and understand that wanting something did not make it appear. That was not cruelty. That was training. Waiting cooled the mind. It made a person ask, "Do I still want this next week?" And many times the answer changed. That is why companies hate patience. A patient customer is harder to trap. A customer who can walk away is dangerous to a world built on impulse. Now, old families still used credit sometimes. Store accounts existed. Mortgages existed. People borrowed when they had to. But the spirit was different. Debt was not a personality. It was a weight. Something to get off your back. That old rule was hard, but it protected people from one of the oldest traps in money, confusing desire with need. And once that line disappears, the next mistake becomes easy. Your grandparents may not have said this exact sentence, but a lot of them lived by it. Do not keep paying for something after it is already broken, rusted, rotted, or gone out of fashion. That rule would save many people today, because modern America is full of payments attached to things that are already tired. Cars worth less than what is owed. Furniture paid for long after the shine is gone. Phones replaced before the old plan is finished. Vacations remembered fondly while the card still bleeds. That would have made many old people quiet. They believed a purchase should have weight. If you bought a coat, it needed to last. If you bought a table, it stayed in the house. If you bought a tool, it had better earn its place. They were not chasing luxury, they were chasing use. That is a different mindset. Modern sellers learned how to hide bad decisions inside small payments. Only this much a month. That phrase sounds gentle, but it can turn a weak purchase into a long punishment. Our grandparents did not need a finance degree to smell that kind of trouble. They knew when a salesman talked too smooth. They knew when the numbers sounded friendly at the door and mean at the kitchen table. A free person asks, "How long will this last?" A trapped person only asks, "How much is the payment?" That is the difference. And the older way was not glamorous, but it kept many families from buying things that looked good only on the first day. Now, rule number 5 is one modern people laugh at until the system fails. Old people trusted a little cash in the house, not a fortune, not some fantasy pile hidden under the floorboards, just something, maybe in a coffee can, maybe folded inside a Bible, maybe in an envelope behind a drawer. Enough to get through a bad day without begging the system to work. Modern people call that outdated. They say everything is digital now. Fine. Until the card declines for no reason. Until the power goes out. Until the bank freezes something. Until the app says try again later, and later is not soon enough. Your grandparents understood fragility. Banks had failed. Jobs had vanished. Storms had closed roads. Promises had broken. So a little cash close to the house did not feel paranoid. It felt practical. And cash taught something else too. Limits. A child watching his mother count bills at the kitchen table learned a truth no screen can teach. When the money is gone, the answer is no. Digital money can feel like fog. Cash has weight. You feel it leave. That physical feeling matters. It slows a person down. It makes spending visible. And maybe that is why the modern world works so hard to make money disappear into taps, swipes, subscriptions, and automatic withdrawals. Invisible money is easier to spend. Old cash was stubborn. You had to look at it. You had to count it. You had to admit what was left. And that leads straight into rule number 4. Because old families did not trust fog. They trusted numbers on paper. Before budgeting became an app, it was a pencil, a notebook, a kitchen table, a bill laid flat under a tired hand. There was no magic in it, just truth. This came in, that went out. This is left. Old households wrote things down because guessing was dangerous. A family could survive being poor for a while, but it could not survive lying to itself forever. That is what a ledger prevented. It made the month visible. Rent, groceries, coal, shoes, medicine, church, school, a repair nobody planned for. Every dollar had somewhere to stand on the page. Today, money leaks quietly. Automatic payments, subscriptions nobody remembers, interest nobody reads, little charges that do not look dangerous until the account feels thin and nobody knows why. That kind of fog ruins families. And I will say it straight. A lot of debt begins when people stop wanting to see the truth. Not because they are bad, because the truth is uncomfortable. Old people did not enjoy writing down bad numbers either, but they looked. They had to. The landlord did not disappear because somebody felt overwhelmed. The grocer still expected payment. Winter did not care that the math was stressful, so they counted. Not because they were old-fashioned, because numbers left alone can eat a house. Rule number 3 is where pride gets involved, and pride has ruined more budgets than hunger ever did. This one hurts because it is everywhere now. Do not buy status you cannot afford. Our grandparents had pride. Of course they did. They cared what neighbors thought, sometimes too much. But many of them were more ashamed to pretend than to go without. That is almost gone today. Modern life made pretending expensive. A person can drive success and sleep in panic. A house can look beautiful from the road and be bleeding inside. A family can post pictures from a trip they will still be paying for when the memory has gone cold. Everybody claps. The bill waits. Older people were suspicious of that kind of showing off. A man who flashed too much was not always admired. Sometimes he was watched. because real stability did not need to shout. It sat quietly. Bills paid, roof working, food in the pantry, shoes repaired, a little money nobody talked about. That was dignity, not performance. Today, status is sold like a product, and debt is the costume people wear to look less worried than they are. That is dangerous, because the moment you borrow money to impress people, strangers have power over your peace. Your grandparents may not have owned much, but many of them understood this: peace inside the house is worth more than applause outside it. That sentence could save a lot of families, but only if they believe it before the salesman arrives. Now, rule number 2 sounds like common sense, which means modern life has made it rare. Old families understood order. If the roof leaked, the roof came first. Not the porch, not the new curtains, not the thing neighbors would notice, the leak. Because a leak ignored today becomes a ceiling ruined tomorrow. That was how they thought. A house taught priority. A farm taught priority. Winter taught priority. If the chimney was bad, you handled the chimney. If the shoes were worn through, you dealt with the shoes. If the fence was open, you fixed the fence before talking about anything pretty. A want could wait. A need could not. Modern life blurs that line on purpose. It dresses wants like needs. It makes upgrades feel responsible. It makes a payment plan sound like planning. Then the real emergency arrives and the family has no room left to breathe. Old people feared that corner. They feared owing too many people when trouble came. They feared being caught pretty and unprepared. That is a hard line, but it is true. A family with ugly furniture and no payment may be stronger than a family with a beautiful room and no margin. A car that belongs to you, even if it is not impressive, can be better than a shiny one that owns your paycheck. That is not nostalgia. That is math with dirt under its fingernails. Fix the leak first. Handle what can hurt you. Let pride wait outside. And that brings us to number 1. The rule modern America forgot so completely that people now celebrate the trap. This may be the most important rule on the list. Approved does not mean affordable. A bank can approve you. A store can approve you. A lender can approve you. A credit card company can approve you. That does not mean the decision is wise. It means somebody found a way to make your yes profitable. That is all. The lender is not your grandfather. The store is not your mother. The bank is not sitting at your kitchen table asking if your family will sleep peacefully after this payment starts. They are asking whether the deal works for them. You have to ask whether it works for you. That used to be common sense. Now it sounds almost rebellious. Because modern language turns debt into celebration. You qualify. You are pre-approved. Take it home today. Low monthly payment. Every phrase is designed to weaken the old voice that says, wait, count, think, walk away. Your grandparents had that voice. Maybe it came from a depression memory. Maybe from a father who hated owing. Maybe from an empty cupboard nobody talked about. But they had it, and that voice saved them from many mistakes. Not all, but enough. A family that knows how to say no is harder to trap. A person who can walk away from easy money still owns something priceless: judgment. And once judgment is gone, every advertisement becomes a leash. That is why this rule sits at number 1. Approval is not affordability. Never was, never will be. 7 rules. Wait until you can pay. Do not let the bill outlive the thing. Keep some cash close. Write the numbers down. Never borrow for applause. Fix the leak first. And remember that approval is not affordability. None of those rules sound exciting. That is why they work. Real money wisdom is usually quiet. It does not sparkle. It does not promise a lifestyle. It does not flatter you. It just keeps the floor under your feet. And I know times are different now. Housing is expensive. Medical bills can crush people. Wages have not always kept up. Some families are in debt because life cornered them, not because they were foolish. That is real. But it is also real that a whole country was trained to see permanent payments as normal. And permanent payments change a person. They change what you tolerate at work. They change how you sleep. They change how much of your future already belongs to someone else. That is what older people understood. They did not hate debt because they were boring. They hated what debt could do to a household. A paid-off tool feels different in the hand. An old car that belongs to you drives differently. A small house with peace inside it is not small in the ways that matter. And a paycheck that is not already promised away has a kind of silence around it. A good silence. The kind a family can breathe in. So tell me this. What money rule did the old people in your family live by? Did they hide cash? Write every bill down? Refuse payment plans? Drive the same car until the doors complained? Put it in the comments. I want to hear the rules that actually shaped households. Not theories, the sayings, the habits, the things your grandmother did that seemed strict back then, but make sense now. And if this kind of old wisdom still speaks to you, stay close. Because sometimes the strongest families were not the ones with the most. They were the ones who knew exactly what they could live without. Until next time, remember this. Debt can make a poor thing look rich for a little while. But peace usually belongs to the person who can still say no.